Friday for another great night of racing. In our recruiting spotlight this week, Tavian Dale for the Washington Wildcats. The 5'11", 210-pound linebacker had 122 tackles in his junior season and was an integral part of the Wildcats' resurgence in 2019. With a blue-gray game invite already, you know colleges are hot on his trail, including Middle Tennessee. Coach Whitten raves about Dale and the fact that COVID-19 didn't slow this young man down, as he basically lived in the weight room over the spring. Tavian is ready for the upcoming year, and where most would be happy turning around and having the season they had last year, it seems Dale and the Wildcats are out to win it all, and they know what it takes. That's your Gulf Coast Sports Minute. I'm JP.
The teams, the games, the fans, the local talk. This is ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Captain Eric Lawrence was training Afghan soldiers when his truck was hit by an IED.
I was on the way from Kandahar to Kalat, hit an IED that just took the truck and threw it up in the air and slammed it on the ground. I knew at first that I got hurt pretty bad because I couldn't move my legs. I sat home alone for months. I didn't want that anymore. I wanted to go back to work. I was hesitant at first, because I didn't work for a good year. I want to be a productive person. I don't want to be a drain on society. I want to be a positive thing in society. PVA helped me write my resume, got me a job interview. I got the job.
Helping veterans like Eric is what we've done for over 65 years. Paralyzed Veterans of America, paving access for veterans' employment through Operation PAVE. For more information, visit pva.org. A public service message from Paralyzed Veterans of America.
Looking for future leaders we can believe in? Look no further than the high school student athletes right here in Florida. High school sports teach young people how to be effective leaders. It includes learning to listen, accepting responsibility, being a good role model, and it's about respect. The result, it transcends sports. It gives us hope for the future. This message presented by the Florida High School Athletic Association and the Florida Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
What'd you do this time, Brad?
I'm in the doghouse after my hunting trip last weekend.
Yeah, I was too. I blew off our date.
How'd you get out of the doghouse?
Stillwater's Day and Medical Spa. I got her a gift card. It took 3 minutes at swmedspa.com. She booked it this Saturday.
Saturday? So 9 holes then?
Tea time's at 8.
To enjoy a hassle-free guys weekend, treat her to a gift card from Stillwater's Day and Medical Spa. Follow Stillwater's on Facebook or Instagram to enter contests and win great prizes. Or visit swmedspa.com.
JP here. At ESPN Pensacola, we are hometown proud. We love our hometown heroes like Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawk Doug Baldwin.
They fake, the lob, wide open, touchdown, Doug Baldwin.
Bigger body that Wilson likes to throw to, big target. Here's Baldwin, smaller target, and he ducks in for the touchdown.
Hi, this is Doug Baldwin, and you're listening to ESPN Pensacola.
This is ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. Pensacola's home for hometown sports. Your home to talk football with Coach K, Sports Drive with Chad Brillante, and Sports Call with Davis Allen. If you'd like to partner with ESPN Pensacola or become a sponsor, just give us a call at 262-6000.
You're listening to ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. All sports, all the time. WEBY, Milton, Pensacola.
The following has been produced by Talk Football LLC. Former Florida Gators quarterback, NFL quarterback, and NFL head coach. Coach K. Stevenson has a resume second to none, and now he's sharing his insider information with you. Talk Football with Coach K starts right now on ESPN Pensacola.
Welcome into Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach K. Stevenson on this Wednesday afternoon. Hope you're doing well, staying safe, of course, washing your hands. You guys know the drill by now. I don't have to get into that. And look, if you can, throw on a mask. All right. Well, no statement here, just throwing that out there for folks. We're doing a good job. Cases obviously are going down here. I know things can change, but hospitalizations are going down. And that's a testament of who I'm fixing to talk about right now, as well as you, the listeners out there. Appreciate you guys But look, we always start off our show this way, and we'll continue it. First responders, healthcare workers, thank you guys so much. What you do is amazing, regardless of what's going on with COVID-19. Putting yourself out there on the front lines each and every day. That is, you guys are truly the heroes in this. And now we obviously are a big-time military town. We love our military here with Pensacola NAS and all the other bases around. But you know what? Thank you guys so much. We appreciate what you do. And I know a couple of you today are listening. Appreciate you tuning in. Hopefully we can give you some football information and, you know what, maybe separate what's going on right now. Maybe you're having a bad day. Well, we're going to try to bring some positivity. That's what we try to do here. And look, while we're saying this as well, grocery store employees, truck drivers, all the essential workers out there, thank you guys as well. And obviously truck drivers, you guys are the silent heroes in this. But all the essential workers, you guys have done a great job. Maybe you didn't know you were essential. Well, now you know. And grocery store workers, any of these businesses, by the way, and I say this every day, but I just want to make it clear, guys, please don't hassle these folks. They don't want to have to follow these protocols any more than you do. So just throw a mask on. And if you don't like it, then don't go in there. If you have if you have something physically wrong where you can't do it, let them know, but don't just try to barge in there and make a scene about that. That's not how this is going to go. That is it's shameful to see that going on around our country. It really is. And let's keep our community, safe here, obviously. But understand these guys are doing the best they can, and this is to protect all of us, not just you. So with that being said, Coach, I know we have a ton to get to today, but how are you doing today, my friend?
Doing well, JP, and I second as always, your thanks to go out to all those people, and as well to our sponsors. Without them, we couldn't bring this to you. And what they do in the community as well. We're grateful and we thank them very much. To 11 Papatonio Law Firm and Bob Tyler Toyota, the Bill Kelly Dodge, and also the indoor shooting range out there on North 29. So we thank you. We thank you very much, all of you.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, Coach, with our sponsors, we couldn't do it without them. 11 Law Firm. If you don't know 11, you're not obviously from here, but you should check them out. They do a great job, and if you have any questions, they'll help you through as well. You never know. Usually you don't need somebody like that until it's too late, but it's always great to reach out if you have any kind of questions in general. But Hill Kelly and Bob Tyler, Coach, you know that both of those folks will take care of you. They always got some deals going on as well. And if you're not sure, maybe it's your first vehicle that you bought, whether it's used, new, whatever it is, they'll walk you through the process. They're not going to pressure you into anything you don't want to do. They understand, and that they're here to help you guys. And for the Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range, that place is just awesome. And if you don't know gun safety, it's always good. I sent a couple of friends of mine in there that got some safety information from them, walked them through it, let them test out some guns. You can test it before you buy it, so awesome folks in there. And tell them all those folks in there, tell them we sent you here at Talk Football with Coach K. They'd love to hear that as well. But, Coach, look, I'm going to jump into this. I know we have a little bit of time and a lot to get to as usual. Just a kind of an update. Now, we mentioned yesterday Escambia made their decision on high school football. Practices can start September 7th. September 18th is when the games can begin here. That is the same now as Santa Rosa, which we kind of figured that Santa Rosa was going to wait, as Escambia has so many high schools. Santa Rosa has now said the same exact thing. So here's kind of what it breaks down to. Now that we know this, there'll be no districts this year. Instead, classifications will be determined by the FHSAA after September 18th, which is obviously when they'll know which schools have opted in to play the state playoff system and which is opted out. So they're going to wait, obviously, to find out everyone who opts in. This is interesting. This is, once again, 2020 in a nutshell here, Coach. Everyone who opts in will make the playoffs. No point system. Seedings will be made by a blind draw. So this is going to be interesting. Now, Okaloosa County has not announced its plans yet. We kind of feel, from what I'm hearing from other folks around, they're going to make the same plan as obviously what Escambia and Santa Rosa. Coach, I mean, look, I know we got a lot of college and NFL to talk about. This is going to be interesting. Everyone who opts in will make the playoffs. No point system this year. Seedings will be made by a blind draw. This could be interesting really quick.
Well, certainly it will, and I don't know where they're going to get on that time. They're going to start September 18th, and when you play a Scottish, they cut their games like maybe to 8 or 9 games, and which is not going to leave a lot of time, well into November and December if you're going with everybody makes the playoff.
Yeah, and I think a lot of this too is from what we're hearing. South Florida obviously doesn't seem like they're going to be able to play high school football this year. That's what we're hearing right now. So that maybe have something to do with it, is you're going to lose a bunch of teams in this. So who knows? Who in the heck knows what's going to happen? I just find that, you know what? There you go. Even a low tier team could get a 1 seed. How about that? Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But you're right. They have cut their games to 8. If everybody plays, though, we may be playing high school football into 2021. So we'll see what happens. But, Coach, I wanted to throw this out there. This is interesting. A great article on AL.com, by the way, how this cardiologist may have saved college football this season. This guy, Michael Ackerman, he's not a college football fan. He makes that very clear. He is a genetic cardiologist for the Mayo Clinic and has been to 2 college football games in his life and didn't really watch them. He admitted it. He's like, look, I was invited, I was up in the suite, and didn't really care. So, but he is a guy, obviously he is one of the best when it comes to genetic cardiology. So Big 12 reached out to him, as well as some other conferences as well. But remember the Big 12, obviously everybody remembers the SEC had said, look, we're going to move forward. The ACC had followed suit. Everybody was kind of waiting on the Big 12, saying they were on the fence. Big 12 had their meeting last Tuesday, I believe. And here we go. Now, obviously, the Big Ten made that decision. That's where things got scary. So when we look at this, Coach, he met with the Big 12. I thought it was interesting because he comes on and says, listen, he said Bob Bowlesby had said you'd be less forthright if you didn't acknowledge between the myocarditis and some of the other things that are new, it hasn't necessarily raised the concern level. But Mr. Ackerman here basically went on, and by the way, he's a Minnesota-based cardiologist. I'm just throwing that out there for political reasons. But he said, look, the new study that came across didn't have the bandwidth to be transferable in a useful way. The study that they were looking at was conducted in Germany and composed of middle-aged adults and found that 78% of the 100 participants had some cardiac abnormality, and said it's a scientific foul to infer that those findings are relevant for 18 to 24-year-old athletes. He said you can't make that leap. You just can't do it. You cannot assume things like that. And he used an analogy, a soup analogy. Basically, he asked the Big 12, okay, before you knew about myocarditis, were you going to play football? And the Big 12 president said yes. And he goes, then play football. Because this myocarditis, first off, he said, we've known about this stuff for quite some time. He goes, second, you guys are following protocols right now to help prevent the virus. So we're trying to prevent this, obviously. We're not just accepting you're going to get it. We're trying to prevent it. And for a lot of you guys, obviously, it's worked. And he's seen their numbers, and they understand. But he said, look, there's just too many unknowns we have right now to sit here and say, okay, well, this is the big, bad, spooky thing in town. And he said, look, I'm all on erring on the side of caution if you guys want to do that. But what I am telling you right now is my professional opinion. Is from everything we know right now, he goes, this is, if you were going to play before you knew about this, then play football. That's my opinion that I'm throwing at you. And, Coach, I think it brings a lot of things into this, as obviously you've talked about it before, that the question that nobody's talking about is, okay, what about not getting the virus? Like, just because you show up and you play football doesn't mean you're going to get it. The other thing that goes along with this is how the Big Ten kind of spun this a little bit and made it, like he said, the big, bad, spooky thing in town right now to kind of justify a decision that he said personally isn't necessarily that justifiable if you're changing it within 6 days. Because what his question was, these guys changed it within 6 days. They found out new information, and this is the new information they found out. He goes, this is not new information. This is just simply a study that they did in Germany on older people. So, Coach, look, I think this is a great article here, but it's interesting because we all want to hear from the professionals in this. And Michael Ackerman, he is obviously a Mayo Clinic genetic cardiologist. There's probably none better when you talk about a guy that has studied this his entire life. So, what do you make of these comments here, Coach?
Well, I think I think they're great, and they're right on the money. And just what we've been talking about almost addresses the primary question. Number one, it is highly unlikely, as he states in his research, that these people that age are going to develop any type of heart problems from the virus. But are they saying that because you play football, you're more likely to have the heart problems? Or are you more likely to get the virus? And the answer to both are absolutely no. It's ridiculous. They're less likely to get the virus. To even develop that heart problem, you have to catch the virus first. And what's the best place, the safest place for these kids to be? And that would be under the rules and regulations and medical care that they've set up for these athletic teams and football in particular. I know there are mothers and fathers that are protesting to the presidents of colleges, don't send my child home. It's much more dangerous for him here. So, having said that, I think those questions have to be addressed. You can't just, I think people have just thrown it out there, or if they play football, they're going to have a heart problem later in life. It's just ridiculous. There's a concerted effort to set up the possibility that they don't play football. There's a concerted effort to get that done. Fortunately, it's not going to work. So anyway, the good doctor, I think, has addressed it exactly right.
Yeah, and that's the thing in all this, and make this very clear. I don't bring this up just because he agrees with the way I've kind of looked at things, because I'm not a doctor by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not going to pretend to be one. What I get is my information by talking to other physicians here in our area in Pensacola. I've talked to a few of them about this, and they say, look, it's ever-changing. We know that. But everything that they've read, everything, because they're on these emails, they're learning about this because they have to learn about this, not necessarily for sporting reasons, obviously, but for their own practice and what they're doing and how to combat this. And, I have a significant other that is a nurse and in there, and just how tough it is for some of these people. So, look, I understand all this. I've seen all this, okay? What this is, though, is this is a professional opinion, and interested to see. Now, this obviously did not spread to anywhere. I didn't read this article on any of the big news sites, and that, to me, is not a surprise because, like you said, Coach, there's a lot of people that don't want college football to happen, but I find it funny because immediately when somebody says it's not safe, we see it plastered all over the place, but here this guy is bringing some real knowledge to the table here, and all I've seen it on is AL.com. That's it. So it's a shame, but it is what it is. It's kind of where we live right now. But with that being said, Coach, before we go to break, Notre Dame is now closing their campus for 2 weeks, moving to remote learning. No surprise here is a lot of these guys, as they come back, getting some students that test positive to coronavirus. We knew this was going to happen. But anyway, regardless, with that being said, the football program is actually, it works out better for them. So a lot of these students are being pushed to go back home, going to do the remote learning. Same thing in North Carolina. Now, with North Carolina, what I said yesterday, I want to make this clear to redact my statement, because I said it's not going to solve the problem because the students are still going to be there, and they are to an extent, the off-campus stuff and whatever. But with North Carolina going to remote learning and virtual learning, they are now clearing out the dorms except for the foreign exchange students, the international students that are there. They are allowed to stay, and that is it. So once again, that helps seal that bubble a little bit better. A lot of universities are using this and looking at this right now and saying, okay, maybe we need to do the same thing. So we'll see what happens. Nonetheless, just throwing that out there for you. A couple other things real quick before we go. Tennessee, 25,000 fans. That's what you're going to get at Neyland Stadium this year. Georgia, University of Georgia, obviously 25% capacity, which is about 23,000 fans. Alabama, right there in Tuscaloosa, 20% right now. That could change, but 20% and no tailgating. That is what the plan is. And Florida fans, real quick. Obviously, there's been a lot of uncertainty about the wide receiver situation, as you've had a couple wide receivers talking about possibly not playing. We're talking about Kadarius Toney, Jacob Copeland, and Trayvon Grimes. Copeland and Toney have not really said anything much. We'll see what happens. But Trayvon Grimes tweeting about the Week 1 game in Ole Miss and even tagging a Rebels wideout, Elijah Moore. That is the young man that acted like he was a dog and cost Ole Miss the game last year. But regardless, that's a positive sign. A lot of people believe that Trayvon Grimes is going to play, and that is definitely a young man you want to see on the field with Kyle Trask in that squad. So, look, got to go to a quick break here, and when we come back, we'll talk about Week 1 in the SEC. The point spreads are already out. You know the gambling lines. They're ready to roll. Anybody that can gamble on anything, they're definitely going to do it. And we'll talk about the win totals. ESPN's FPI projects every single win-loss here for the SEC teams. We'll talk about that as well as Tom Brady in Tampa. Is he on track? Well, we'll talk about that when we come back right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Sometimes your bank, your family, and your friends love you, but they don't have the money to help you. Sometimes we have chances to make money, but the old saying, you've got to have money to make money, rings true. At Pensacola Specialty Pond, we can help. If you have trucks, heavy equipment, airplanes, boats, jet skis, anything with value, Pensacola Specialty Pond can loan you that short-term money you need. No credit checks, and at Pensacola Specialty Pond, you're going to find the money and the discretion you need.
Now at 6428 Pensacola Boulevard, north of Car City. Call 432-9050, 432-9050.
JP here. At ESPN Pensacola, we are hometown proud. Like the greatest pound-for-pound boxer of all time, Roy Jones Jr.
Three-time light heavyweight world champion and former heavyweight champion of the world, future Hall of Fame legend, Roy Jones Jr.
What up? This is your boy Roy Jones Jr. and you're listening to ESPN Pensacola.
Here are the ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM 99.1 FM contest rules. You can win one prize per household per contest in any 30-day period, unless specified by individual contest rules. All prizes are non-transferable, non-redeemable for cash, or exchangeable for any other contest prize. Prizes must be redeemed within a 30-day period of winning and must be 18 years of age or older to win. For a complete list of rules, visit ESPNpensacola.com.
JP here. Everyone here at ESPN Pensacola wants to send a shout out to our first responders and healthcare workers at this time. We know it's tough, but we appreciate the work you put day in and day out. We also want to thank our essential workers out there for helping all of us continue to live our lives as normal as possible in this time. For our community, keep rocking it. We are going to get through this. Remember, we were named the #1 strong town in America. That wasn't by accident. We have seen so many people step up and do their part, and we thank all those people for their efforts. We will be stronger for this, and together, we will beat COVID-19.
Hey, what's up? Chad here from the Sports Drive. Well, we're into August, that first time that we start to feel the flow for football season.
Foosball.
Like getting ready to run out of the tunnel to a song like Enter Sandman. Might be a little different this year. Probably no smoke, social distance away from the people, as you might get cheered on by virtual fans.
You can do it!
But overall, we're excited, and we'll keep you posted with the latest updates from high school, college, and the NFL. Join myself, Chad Brillante, and JP right here on the Sports Drive, 5 to 7 on ESPN Pensacola.
Hey, this is Jay Williams. You're listening to Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach Kay Stevenson. This Wednesday afternoon, appreciate you joining this show. Look, we're going to jump back into this, Coach. Obviously, with the SEC announcing their schedules, now we have dates. Now it's again, I said this earlier in the week, it's starting to feel like football's here. We're almost there. I know things can change, but we're getting closer. Now, I know the SEC obviously doesn't start until September 26th, but when you look, when you look around for September, what the college football schedule is going to look like, I think this is interesting. I mean, a team right down the road from us, South Alabama, is supposed to open up September 3rd. I believe that's a Thursday against Southern Miss. That is that's big news. It's awesome news. They'll be at Southern Miss at 7:00 right there, and I'm sure so these games will be on TV. Obviously, I have no idea right now, but then you go September 5th. You'll have teams like Memphis playing, North Texas, Middle Tennessee at Army. They could move that game a day before. SMU will play, and then Monday, September 7th, BYU at Navy right there. Obviously, now when you turn around and play, now the next Saturday is when we're predicting. Obviously, the ACC is supposed to get rolling. Clemson at Wake Forest, Duke at Notre Dame, Georgia Tech at Florida State, teams like that. So we're going to get some of these ACC guys, and then obviously September 26th, I believe the Big 12 and the SEC will start their games. So, hey, it's getting closer. We talk about it all the time, Coach. We're going to be positive on this show until we have a reason not to be, and it seems like things are moving forward. But with that being said, in the SEC, the point spreads, obviously, when you talk about Vegas and all the betting that goes along with that, and look, I just like the point spreads in general. I don't really bet, don't really care to, but anyway, Alabama's a 21.5-point favorite at Missouri, Coach. Now, talking about this game here, Missouri, we know they have a good defense. Eli Drinkwitz comes in, and boom, right out of the gate, you get Alabama. When you look at this, 21.5 points, I know that there's a lot to be said. I said yesterday on the Sports Drive that personally, I'm not going to say no because they have so much talent with Najee Harris and Devonta Smith and those guys out there and Jalen Waddle. But, Coach, I don't know if Alabama, how the quarterback situation is going to be. Are they going to play two quarterbacks because you haven't gotten to scrimmage like you normally would? You haven't got the practice time like you normally would. For Missouri, though, I will say this. I like Eli Drinkwitz. I don't know offensively how in the world they're going to get it done, but defensively they're pretty good. But 21.5, does that seem right to you, Coach?
A lot of points in any football game, but, especially when you're on the road, Missouri catches Alabama where you'd want to catch them, really, because they're going to be tough to beat. They're going to probably win that football game one way or the other, but 21.5 points. The reason Missouri might have a chance to stay within the point spread there is Alabama does not know what Missouri is going to be doing offensively and what their quarterback situation is going to be at Missouri. Any number of things offensively, they would have a little trouble being prepared for on a normal strategy type approach. So that'll give Missouri a little advantage there. They're going to need it because Alabama's probably going to win that ball game and probably going to cover that spread. I just throw that out because if Missouri has any advantage, it's that.
Yeah, you're right. And remember, for a lot of people, they may not know this, but going back to, he was a former high school coach. He actually began, Eli Drinkwitz did, his coaching career under Gus Malzahn. So, interesting little background there. He runs a lot of that same style offense that Malzahn runs. Look, we'll see. App State, he had a lot of success at App State. I think it's very easy to say that. If he can bring a little bit of that excitement to Missouri, that's great, but you're starting off with Alabama. He's got to figure out that quarterback situation of his own. But it is what it is. Coach, when you look at this, Georgia at Arkansas, 24-point favorites. I don't think it's a big surprise. Florida is a 10.5-point favorite at Ole Miss. Mississippi State at LSU is an 18.5-point favorite. LSU is. Tennessee is a 1-point favorite. That's a toss-up right there at South Carolina. And Vanderbilt at Texas A&M. Texas A&M, obviously, a 28.5-point favorite. When I mention those games between Georgia and Florida and Mississippi State, Tennessee and that, any of those point spreads surprise you? Any of them stand out? Any of them you go, well, maybe not so fast?
Well, I think it's probably about right. But one thing that you would not have seen a year ago is Tennessee going on the road as a favorite to open up the season, regardless of who they were playing.
That's true.
In the SEC. And they are playing South Carolina. So that's just one you would not have seen last year. Just goes to show you that, Tennessee's gained a little respect, quite a bit of respect.
Yeah, and South Carolina, at home is tough. This is a team, obviously, they're Muschamp. They're trying to figure out, Ryan Helinski, the quarterback now. He's a good quarterback. We'll see how well they do this year. You're right, though. Tennessee, this is a team that, lost to Georgia Southern and BYU to start the season last year. That team would not be favored anywhere. They were actually, I believe it was like only a 7-point favorite against Chattanooga after they lost those 2 games to open the season, and then they come out and drum Chattanooga. So kind of gives you an idea. But, Coach, I agree with you on that. I think they're all about right. The only one that I'm wondering about a little bit is Mississippi State at LSU. LSU's at home, obviously. LSU's going through some interesting things right now. That's supposedly went on in their program before. I'm not really going to speak much on it until I find out a little more detail on it. But I heard from Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss, and I tell you what, I know this is too early. We'll see what happens when the season gets going. Lane Kiffin very humble about playing Florida, talking about how great that team is, and talking about, look, we at Ole Miss we haven't gotten a lot of practice. He likes John Rice Plumlee. He thinks he's extremely fast, and he can cause problems, and they're going to try to have ways. He goes, if you go man up and just take on Florida, you're probably not going to win with the team they have right now, so they're going to have to look at different ways. So, look, it's going to be interesting nonetheless. It doesn't matter. I don't care who plays who at this point. I just want some football. But speaking on the SEC, Coach, ESPN, obviously the FPI, and people can take this for what they want. Look, I'm just throwing this out there. Right now, the projections, and this is a win-loss basically. Alabama at 9 wins and basically 1 loss is what they have them in the projections. Georgia 8.2 wins with 2.5 losses there. LSU 7.9 wins. Auburn 7 wins. Florida 7.4 wins. I think, Coach, when you look at this, Florida, once again, and I know me and you feel the same about Florida. We believe this is their year. Is there a little bit of people, maybe it seems that there's some hesitancy? I mean, because Georgia, with Georgia being themselves, the people that actually believe in Florida, I mean, does it seem that people just are scared to take that next step and say, hey, this Florida team is really good just because of what's happened in the past?
I don't know. It might seem that way with some people. I think most of the people that really have some football knowledge understand that Florida has a good chance to retake the SEC East this year. So, and that Florida's got a good football team. They've got some carryover momentum from last year. They have a quarterback who's really given them a lift, has settled in now. A coaching staff that's been there a couple of years. They are on the same page. They have some continuity. There's a lot of pluses in Gainesville. And as you might imagine, they've got they're talented and have sufficient depth, if you will, to to play an SEC schedule. So yes, I like Florida, and that's not just because I went to Florida. I think Florida's got an outstanding opportunity to play extremely well and win the SEC East.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And we've talked about Florida a lot, Coach, obviously. A lot of we all understand Alabama is going to be the team to beat in the SEC. It's going to be tough to upset a team like Alabama. They are after what people call it, once again. And I guess according to when you look back at the records, it is a disappointing season. But you know what? Disappointing, and you still win the games they won and play the way that they did. And you look at the injuries and the fact that they were still able to do what they did was very, very impressive. And this is not coming from an Alabama fan. I'll make that very clear. But I call it the way I see it. LSU, Coach, we talked about them as well. 16 guys have been lost. They've had a couple guys opt out. Their starting safety opted out. A couple of their defensive ends have opted out. It's going to be tough already for them, regardless of what happens. But this is a team that is rebuilding. They're not. I say rebuilding. They're revamping, really. Rebuilding is for teams that aren't going to do anything that year. But LSU is going to be interesting. Georgia, I think everybody is on board with the quarterback situation. It's Jamie Newman, and that's it. We've talked about it, Coach. A lot of hesitancy there. We'll see what happens. For Auburn, I got to be careful. I tread lightly when I talk about Auburn because of the other side of my family here, Coach. I'm trying to get in trouble and put myself in the doghouse. But Auburn's got some problems. I really do. I think they're going to struggle this year. They've got a good defense, a good enough defense with Kevin Steele and what he does. But offensively, how's Bo Nix going to work? Remember, Jotavius Whitlow, their starting running back, is now gone. That leaves some guys that have not had a lot of playing time stepping up for Auburn. Chad Morris comes in on the offensive side. How long is Chad Morris going to be able to make calls? Coach, I will ask you this because I think we once again agree on this. Chad Morris is now the offensive coordinator. He was brought in to make play calls. Do you think – a lot of people are talking about, well, how many games is he going to last? I think it's more of how many minutes he's going to last Do you think that really Gus Malzahn will allow Chad Morris to kind of take that offense and run with it?
There's a very good chance that Malzahn is going to put the hook up, and he'll take that back, the play calling back over. That's just the way he is. He's done it before.
Yes.
He's never really turned it over to anybody. He has said so and has gone a little while with it, but then he takes it back. And I can understand that. But I think it's going to be Malzahn. I don't believe Chad Morris is going to have free reign. I just can't accept that.
And I, once again, Coach, I 100% agree. And reading what I've read, a lot of Auburn fans feel the exact same way. They kind of want to because they love Chad Morris. They believe he is a great offensive play caller, but they know how Gus Malzahn is. And I've been to games. I've seen how he can just take the reins back. And anytime he gets any kind of uncomfortable, whether it's 1 or 2 plays in a row, he is not scared to take control. He is the head coach, and he will let you know real quick. But with that being said, we're going to go to a quick break here. When we come back, Tom Brady and the Bucs, what Bruce Arians had to say, and how Tom Brady immediately kind of put some of that. He doesn't have any arm strength left, being 43. He put that to rest immediately early on in the first padded practice. We'll talk about Mike Evans and the situation that he has with Tom Brady already, and we'll talk about Jadeveon Clowney. You haven't heard a lot about him. Well, there might be some reason into that and why he has not been signed yet. We'll talk about all that and more when we come back right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
There's only one place in town for the lowest prices and greatest selection of firearms. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Visit our fully stocked Gun Pro Shop for new and used firearms, accessories, and ammunition. Check out the Indoor Shooting Range. We offer rentals on guns, including fully automatic machine guns and silencers. Ladies, this is the safe place to learn how to use a gun. Plus, Tuesday is Ladies' Day. Women shoot for half price all day. The best place to buy firearms in Pensacola. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Highway 29 in Car City.
Let's face it, in life, there is no free lunch.
Are you prepared?
Do you have a plan? Who can you trust?
You can trust the NFCC, the nation's largest nonprofit network of credit counseling and financial education organizations. Our certified professionals will help you learn basic financial skills and give you the tools to meet financial challenges with confidence. Come learn with us at nfcc.org.
It's your money. Get smart about it.
A public service from the NFCC.
For your ridiculous facts, I'm JP. The referee tossed a jump ball after every basket in basketball until 1937. That may be the reason the average points per game per team was 35, and now it's 112. And PETA, you may want to cover your ears on this one. It takes 3,000 cows to supply the NFL with enough leather for a year's supply of footballs. That's a lot of steak. That's your ridiculous facts. I'm JP.
Join ESPN Pensacola, along with Cat Country 98.7, for the second Cat Country Cares for Kids Radiothon for the Studer Family Children's Hospital on Friday, August 21st. Wind Creek Hospitality will match donations up to $20,000. Brent and Candy will have stories of bravery and inspiration from local kids and families who have benefited from the care and expertise of the hospital's highly trained physicians and staff. All funds raised during this year's event will support the Bear Family Foundation Pediatric Oncology Center of Hope, the region's only pediatric oncology center. Thank you to our champion sponsor, Gulf Winds Credit Union.
Hey, this is Jay Williams. You're listening to Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Welcome back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach Kay Stevenson. This Wednesday afternoon, appreciate you guys tuning into the show. By the way, after our show today, You join Chad Brilliante and Terrence A. Gross for Tomahawk Talk, talking about everything FSU. That'll be every Wednesday after Talk Football with Coach K right here. Jumping back into this, Coach, look, obviously with the Bucs, we know Tom Brady is the story. He is the highlight, and rightfully so. This is a Bucs team. When we talk about Jameis Winston, listening to guys talk about Jameis Winston and how talented he is, that's great. There's a lot of people I know right now that can make these throws, but it's a matter of the mental aspect and not turning the football over. That's where playing quarterback gets tough. If it was just throwing to wide open targets, that'd be great. Now, enter Tom Brady with the Tampa Bay Bucs. This is a Tampa Bay Bucs team we've talked about. And look, they're the hottest team right now when we're talking about media-wise because you've got Tom Brady. You've already had weapons there for quite some time when it comes to Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. You already got great tight ends. They've had the pieces in place. It's the quarterback situation, and you look at that offensive line they've struggled with. Now they're rebuilding that offensive line a little bit, getting a guy like Tristan Wirfs, phenomenal. A guy that can play multiple positions, but a guy that can play immediately, and a guy that can lead that team, by the way. And we don't say that a ton about these rookies, but look, reading the reports that are going on at practices and workouts and things like this, Tristan Wirfs has impressed and gotten respect from every single one of his teammates just because of his work ethic and the way he goes about his business. And, hey, that is something definitely to be said when you're trying to rebuild an offensive line. With that being said, Coach, Bruce Arians talked about Tom Brady. And, look, their first padded practice came on Monday. He had mentioned immediately the very first time that he's in pads here. Now they're going, in a scrimmage, that Brady threw a pass that was over 50-plus air yards to Scotty Miller and hit him in stride for a touchdown. Look, interesting enough for a lot of people that didn't think Brady had arm strength. Coach, I know me and you agree on this. Listening to those folks say, look, he's 43, he's too old, he's not going to make it, yada, yada, yada. By the way, the teammates were talking about all the 60-yard dimes he was dropping on these guys, hitting them in stride. Mike Evans even came out and said, listen, he goes, this guy is unbelievable. And he goes, it's fantastic being able to have him as a teammate. He's a living legend, and he's trying to turn me into a living legend as well, and he's very appreciative. He said he's the GOAT on and off the field. It's crazy. He's a superstar, the most accomplished player in our game in our history, but he's just like everybody else. He works extremely hard. He takes extreme good care of his body. He loves his family. He loves family time. He's just cool. He's a real down-to-earth guy. I never would have expected that before playing with him now. And, Coach, you know that. You've talked about that. You've heard people talk about that with Tom Brady and his work ethic. When you look at this, Brady, first off, his very first pass, he decides to go ahead and shut up some of the people that said he doesn't have that arm strength, yet he continued to do it during these scrimmages to guys like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin as well, throwing 60-yard bombs out there. Coach, this goes by. I'll make it easy for you. I mean, is arm strength going to be any problem for Tom Brady this year? I think if anything, it's going to be a positive because he's actually got guys that can run down the field. But do you think that there's going to be any hesitancy when it comes to his arm strength?
Lord, no. It's the most ridiculous thing. And again, there are quite a few people that love nothing better than trying to downgrade or denigrate Brady in any way they can. And the Patriots as well for a long while, but Brady in particular. Now, listen, all you have to do is look back, not too far back, really, when he did have a true number one receiver who could take the top off, and they almost went undefeated. That season, right, got to the Super Bowl, lost in the Super Bowl. So I don't have any question about his ability to get the ball to whomever at whatever distance away he has to throw it. Now, I want people to realize, I'm going to say it again because I think it's very, very important that you understand the difference in throwing the football, just throwing the football, and being a quarterback. There's a huge difference. There's so many things involved. I could take the rest of the hour talking about it. I won't do that. And but I do think it's important that people understand all that has to happen at the quarterback position. First, everybody would understand and realize that you have to have a natural leader at that position. You need somebody that others will follow and believe in. You need someone who is so football savvy and aware of the game plan and the strategy for that particular ball game that he can, at the line of scrimmage, change protections, change from run to pass, pass to run, can do any number of things at the line of scrimmage. His pre-snap look will tell him where he's going to go. He recognizes matchups that he wants to get during the course of the ball game. He's more adept at pre-snap look reading of coverages so that he knows where to go when the ball is full. And he helps everybody on the football team, receivers, putting the ball in the right place at the right time, allowing them to run or throwing them out of trouble, helping the people up front, getting rid of the football when he knows he has to get rid of it, blitz and dog situations. Helps the defense by keeping the offense on the field. It's just everything about the quarterback position, and that's just a little of it. There's a heck of a lot more. But unless you're a guy like Brady, you don't get total proficiency in all those areas. It just doesn't happen. There's some quarterbacks that you get it from. Most you don't. There are some that you do. The Brady's, Breeze, Rodgers. I think there are a couple of these young kids coming along that are playing very, very well. And they are growing immensely each and every week. So, anyway, having said that, I think it's ridiculous to even people be concerned about whether Brady has the arm to get it downfield. He'll get it there. If they run the route the way it's supposed to be run, he'll get him the football.
Yeah, and that's, Coach, you couldn't have put it any better, and I thought that was great, the way you talk about Brady. Brady, what you just mentioned, by the way, is what teams hope to get out of many players, like different characteristics for different guys, meaning Brady is all those in one, and he's a coach as well on the field, and you talked about it plenty, that you get an extra coach on the field in the huddle with you. That just doesn't happen. And, even Mike Evans has talked about it. The guys, he said Brady teaches these guys so much. It's unbelievable. And Mike Evans has already talked about the fact of how much he's learned just in a little period of time with Tom Brady. But the work ethic, everything that goes along with it, these guys respect him. And look, Tampa wants to win. They've wanted to win, but they haven't been taken seriously. And look, I get it. You can love Jameis Winston all you want to. You can sit here and tell me he's one of the most talented quarterbacks all you want to, but I'm not going to believe you. I'm just not. Look, he is a great, when it comes to arm talent, yes, he's got a cannon for an arm, but the decision-making is the difference between a good quarterback, an average quarterback, a below-average quarterback, or a fantastic Hall of Fame quarterback. And that's what we've seen Tom Brady and, like you talked about, Drew Brees and some of these other guys that have just excelled on and off the field. But anyway, with that being said, look, that's got to be scary when you look at Mike Evans and Tom Brady already hitting it off that fast. But Gronkowski, by the way, I thought it was funny, Coach, that Bruce Arians talked about. He's still in that New England shape. He is not in Tampa Bay shape with that humidity. And look, we can all attest to that. It is definitely hot outside, but just thought we'd throw that out there. It is funny enough to think about Gronk. We all know what Gronk does in his spare time. But anyway, Coach, I do want to bring this up. Look, Jadeveon Clowney. Look, we've talked about Jadeveon Clowney. Obviously, we remember how big of a terror he was in college when he at South Carolina. We always remember that big hit he put in on the Michigan running back there. This is going to be interesting, though, Coach. When you look at a guy like Jadeveon Clowney, he's had some success in the NFL. He's been injured a ton. And when I say a ton, I mean a ton. Obviously, in his 5 or 6 seasons, he's got 32 sacks, I believe. This is a guy that, look, he plays in spurts, in my opinion. He's even admitted sometimes taking some plays off, but he's played at spurts. And obviously, coming out of Houston, we saw a lot of that. Now, he had 9.5 sacks in 2017, 9 sacks in 2018, and last year, of course, playing 11 games for Seattle, had 3 sacks. A little bit of a downplay, but hey, you know what? He helped the defense a little bit. This guy, Coach, here's the problem. I think Jadeveon is a good player. The money is where I kind of go hesitant, and I know the market dictates, but the market don't dictate for a guy like Jadeveon Clowney, because the rumors are he's turned down a couple contracts already that are $15 million to $16 million, saying he wants his $19 to $20 million, and he knows what he's worth. Coach, obviously, you've talked to people around the league. You were an NFL coach yourself. You were an NFL player yourself. You understand what it takes. When you look at Jadeveon Clowney, even with the market dictating here, do you agree or disagree with my statement of even with the market dictating how much guys get paid, and look, it may be worth, maybe overpaid regardless, do you think that he is a guy that is worth $19 to $20 million, and where do you think that we'll end up seeing him sign?
I wouldn't give him $19 or $20, much less $20 million. He is the epitome of what potential means. That's why I used to never allow scouts to use that word potential. Potential will put you on the street, and that's what Clowney is. He's got great ability. There's no doubt about that. He's a physical specimen and possesses some unusual talent as a football player. But he's not a football player. He's not a player. I use that word to say that somebody's a player is to say that they are doing everything that they can to help you win. And he's not a player. An interesting thought, I guess somebody put out there on the street. There may be the three best options for Clowney right now. And they listed Houston, Seattle, and Tennessee. Now, let's put two and two together. He was at Houston. I don't think they want him back at Houston.
No.
He was at Seattle. I don't think they want him back at Seattle. His coach at Houston when he was at Houston was Mike Vrabel, who's now at Tennessee. I'm guessing that Vrabel he certainly doesn't put any premium on him. That's for sure. And he probably is hesitant. He might take him there because Tennessee is on the verge of having an extremely good defensive football team. And there's no question he can help a team, but he can also hurt a team. So I look at those three teams, and you don't think that coaches on other teams are calling those people who know him best and have coached him and have been around him to get their feeling about him? Yeah, that's why there are no contracts out there for Clowney and why people aren't welcome. He doesn't have a welcome mat out anywhere. That's what I think about Jadeveon Clowney. Great talent. It'll put you on the street.
Yeah, and that you're right, because the potential that is right. When we saw him in college, that was the most outstanding player, most dominant-looking player we've seen in quite some time. And you look at it, and he's not been a terrible player by any means. He's not been a bust. But to me, he's been a bust because he hasn't performed of what we thought, of what everybody was talking about. This guy's going to be the greatest defensive player since Lawrence Taylor and guys like that, which is crazy. But anyway, with that being said, Coach, I agree. And look, personally, we know how he is in a locker room. He can cause some problems. Obviously, he caused a little trouble there in Houston with Seattle. It's look, personally, I hope Seattle takes him back. It is what it is. But I don't know. I know with the Titans losing Jarrell Casey, they're looking for a dominant pass rusher. Obviously, we're getting Simmons back, Jeffrey Simmons from Mississippi State, our first-round pick last year, a couple years ago. So we'll see what happens. But Jadeveon Clowney, there's obviously a reason that he has not been signed yet. It's not because he's picky. I think that's probably safe to say. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and take our final break right here. And when we come back, we're going to talk about Belichick considering, running 2-quarterback system. Can't imagine that. And the NCAA has created a football oversight committee for these teams that obviously have canceled their seasons. We'll talk a little bit about how that may be crazy enough to keep these guys occupied when we come right back here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Sometimes your bank, your family, and your friends love you, but they don't have the money to help you. Sometimes we have chances to make money, but the old saying, you've got to have money to make money, rings true. At Pensacola Specialty Pond, we can help. If you have trucks, heavy equipment, airplanes, boats, jet skis, anything with value, Pensacola Specialty Pond can loan you that short-term money you need. No credit checks, and at Pensacola Specialty Pond, you're going to find the money and the discretion you need.
Now at 6428 Pensacola Boulevard, north of Car City. Call 432-9050, 432-9050.
Hear ye, hear ye. I bringeth thee a message from... a message from the king and his new trumpeter, Stephen. The king wishes me to convey his favor to thine team and thine tailgate. Not yet. He invites thee to let the Bud Light flow forth. And he also wishes me to tell thee that he toasts thee. Waiteth until the end, Stephen! With game day's favorite light lager and the slogan of his kingdom... Oh, dilly dilly. Enjoy responsibly. Bud Light Beer, AB, St. Louis, Missouri.
Calling all FSU fans, Tomahawk Talk is here. Tune every Wednesday afternoon, 1 till 2 on ESPN Pensacola 1330, 99.1 FM to get the latest on Florida State football. Hear from the experts, the superfans, and even some former players about what's happening on the field from the sidelines to the locker room. It's Tomahawk Talk every Wednesday afternoon starting at 1 on ESPN Pensacola 1330, 99.1 FM.
Presented in part by Gross & Schuster, attorneys at law.
What's up, Pensacola? This is former Duke and NBA star Jay Williams. Catch my new show, Keyshawn, Jay Will, and Zubin, every weekday morning from 5 to 9 on Pensacola's home to hometown sports. ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
The teams, the games, the fans, the local talk. This is ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Welcome back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach Kay Stevenson. Look, appreciate you guys tuning into the show. I'm a little distraught right now. I just got some interesting news. This is obviously out there. David Hookstead, who writes for the dailycaller.com right there, covering a lot of the Big Ten athletics. Coach, right now, he had just tweeted out a few minutes ago that Ohio State, Penn State, Wisconsin, Michigan, Iowa, and Nebraska are reportedly nearing an agreement to play their own football season starting in late September. That would be 10 games. A source said it's very close to being a done deal. This is interesting. I'm just putting this out there. Nothing is for sure. They're working on getting it together. I will say this. If this is true, this is not a surprise. And this guy has a blue check mark on social media for whatever that means for some people. Like I said, he writes for the dailycaller.com, covers Big Ten sports pretty closely. So, Coach, Ohio State, Penn State, Wisconsin, Michigan, Iowa, and Nebraska, some of the big dogs right there, obviously in the Big Ten, are reportedly nearing an agreement to play their own football season starting in late September. That would be close to 10 games. Coach, I mean, what in the world do you make of that?
I think it's great. I'm not surprised. I am not surprised at all. Yeah, great example of people jumping to conclusions too quickly, making decisions that were politically motivated, believe me, politically underpinned. You can bet on that. And this is what happens. This is probably the end of the Big Ten. I don't see how they can survive with now they may reorganize under a different setup, but I don't know how they can survive with their present organization with this happening. But very, very interesting. My goodness, would be one of the most interesting outcomes of this whole situation. I wonder who they're going to get 10 games scheduled with, though. They have to be careful about the protocols of other people in play. But anyway, that'll be one of the most interesting things coming up here.
Yeah, it is, and we'll see what happens with it. We'll see how true it is. Like I said, I'm just reporting what I just saw here, and that's interesting, really interesting. If you're a Big Ten fan, by the way, how about that? We'll see, but I'm with you. I'm skeptical on 10 games, but hey, any games at this point would be believable. Coach, I do want to jump over to one more thing here before we go. Bill Belichick said he would consider anything. They were talking about, the quarterback situation, obviously, with Jarrett Stidham and Cam Newton. Would he be, interested in playing both those guys? And he said, look, I'd consider anything, including playing or platooning with Cam Newton because of Cam Newton's running ability and things like that, and Jarrett Stidham. But here's my thing, by the way. I do want to throw this out there before I send it over to you, Coach. People need to understand Cam Newton has not learned this offense yet. Jarrett Stidham has been in this offense for basically 2 years now. That is something that will obviously be a part of this offense. That'll be something that's in this a part of this decision. But Coach, when you look at this, do you believe? I will just say no. I don't believe this. But you know what? I'll take it from you. Do you believe that Belichick would consider platooning a quarterback's period? I mean, much less when you're talking about Cam Newton and Jarrett Stidham. Do you think that he would ever do that?
Well, here's the problem that you have now. He may not platoon. It's the meaning. It's a matter of semantics. What does platoon mean to most people? It means they're in and out, in and out, in and out. No, he's not going to do that. But would he use him like coaches have used other quarterbacks in the past, going back to, Pittsburgh, but certainly with New Orleans? There are some teams that have had certain packages for certain quarterbacks that has been it's been a big part or a beneficial part of their offense. I could see him doing that, but not a true platoon. No, I don't see that at all.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, and that is interesting when you talk about the platoon and the way it's put. Look, for anybody that says Cam Newton's the guy, here's the thing, and we talked about this. Cam Newton even said that offense is, it's like the hardest calculus you could ever imagine. And look, I went and got my degree in something that didn't have math in it, and there was a big reason why. I took calculus in high school. No thanks. But this is going to be interesting. Look, I think for Belichick, he answered a question, maybe just kind of threw it out there like, yeah, sure, I'll consider anything at this point. Because, hey, it is Belichick. Yeah. The one thing is he's not going to give you what you want, but it is what it is. But, Coach, look, as usual, that sound means it's time for us to go. We run out of time here. But you know what? We're going to give it our best shot tomorrow, and it's been an absolute pleasure.
You bet. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Yes, sir, Coach. Appreciate it. Appreciate all our listeners out there, by the way. And look, we'll be back same time tomorrow talking some football with you right here on Talk Football with Coach K. Stay tuned. When we come back right here, you'll join Chad Brilliante and Terrence A. Gross for Tomahawk Talk. Your everything you need to know about Florida State show coming up right here in just a minute.
Pensacola, or become a sponsor, just give us a call at 262-6000.
You're listening to ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. All sports, all the time. WEVY, Milton, Pensacola.
ESPN Radio Sports Beat with Jason Fitz.
Football players and their families are still trying to figure out what the heck's going on with the Big Ten and how they came to the decision not to play football this fall. Now, I understand some of the confusion. How is it humanly possible that the athletic director of Penn State can come out and say she doesn't know if a vote was ever actually really taken? She doesn't know if presidents and chancellors physically voted. Can she not simply text or call her president or chancellor and get those answers? I mean, we're asking for transparency from the conference, but what about individual schools? They're not even being transparent within their own halls. So I understand players and their families being frustrated. That being said, I don't understand what good filing a lawsuit through the Freedom of Information Act does. That's what they've done at this point to try and get info about how this decision was come to. What doesn't make sense to me is what they plan to do with that information. I mean, should the Big Ten decide they're going to cancel football, what recourse do families have if they came to that decision through a vote or not? They have no legal right to tell somebody they have to play football. I understand right now more than ever what people want is some level of the why. They want transparency. To back up his words, he didn't follow his own advice. With the ESPN Radio Sports Beat, I'm Jason Fitz.
O'Reilly. Superstart batteries exclusively at O'Reilly Auto Parts are designed to meet the electrical demands of today's vehicles. Get dependable power and performance from a Superstart battery for your car, truck, motorcycle, lawnmower, boat, and more. Our professional parts people can help you find just what you need. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
It's a new season, and at Sport Clips Haircuts, all of our stylists are clean certified and guy smart. So come in and get yourself back in the game with our legendary MVP experience. It's a mancation with our hot steam towel, relaxing shampoo, and a winning cut. Check in online and walk out with confidence. Sport Clips, it's good to be a guy.
And you'll be stepping out like a pro.
Progressive presents The Sounds of the Old World. The year is 2019, and someone is getting up to use the bathroom at the stadium.
Excuse me? Excuse me? Oh, sorry. Excuse me? You mind if I just squeeze by here?
This has been The Sounds of the Old World. Brought to you by Progressive, where drivers can still switch and save like it's 2019.
Quote today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
I know it sounds pretty good to hear that music for a lot of people out there. This is Tomahawk Talk. I'm Chad Brillante. Glad to be with you here as the season begins. Well, at least we assume. As we're joined by Gross & Schuster Law Firm. Terrence A. Gross joins us. And Terry, it's been let's just say, a hell of a ride over the last couple months. And when it comes down to football and whether we were going to play or not, it was up in the air. At this point, we assume going into the season, it should be a fun one. The capacity crowd, whether or not they're going to be able to get the full season in, that's up to accountability. But right now, I'm just glad that we have a schedule in place, except 1 week because of Sanford. But excited that we get to, once again, join and watch the teams we love. And I know as a Florida State alumni, it's pretty exciting.
Well, I'm not excited yet, truthfully. I did like hearing the intro music. I hadn't heard that in a while. But I'm still on the fence. 2 weeks ago, Big Ten was playing. Now they're not. Pac-12 was playing. Now they're not. Sanford was going to play us. That their conference pulled out. So, I think if any one of these schools gets a big influx of positive testing, it doesn't bode well. Look what we saw with the Miami Marlins when Philadelphia was down there a month ago, what happened. And, all of a sudden Marlins, their season's over, like boom, and Philadelphia scrambling back to Philadelphia getting testing. So, but if you think about it, of all the positions I keep on thinking about, I keep on thinking lineman. So you're a lineman. What do you do as a lineman? Offense, defense. Your grill is in the other guy's grill the whole game, huffing and puffing 6 inches away. How do you protect yourself? Now, I heard FSU is going with some plate glass mask that may work. Does it fog up? I mean, I was wearing my sunglasses. I come out and they fog up. So if you're a receiver and your mask is fogging up or the quarterback, I don't understand all these things. And again, what do you do if your key player tests positive the day before? What do you do now? All these dilemmas. So I'm not drinking a Kool-Aid right now. If it happens, it happens. I bought my tickets. I've got some reservations for North Carolina at FSU, Clemson at FSU. But am I going? I don't know.
One of the things, Terrence, and football is one that, in this world we lived in, we've been essential from back in March. We call it March 12th, Thursday the 12th, right before Friday the 13th, when Rudy Gobert hugged some kids on an NBA game, and then all of a sudden Mark Cuban was checking his phone and everything was freaking out. And then from that point on, everything canceled. Even the ones that sort of, you can see the guy riding a Harley with the eagle on his shoulder, the NASCARs, the XFLs, the ones, don't tread on me, the ones that like, we're going to play even if you don't, UFC, WWE, they all started to cancel. And it was at that point you realized, okay, this is pretty serious. It's like same thing with football around here. Most people understood if the SEC said we're not playing football, a lot of other people would be deathly afraid because you knew they would find a way to play in a park somewhere over in Birmingham if they had to play their season. In this case right now, we look and we realize we haven't had a precedent set for football. Basketball, they played in a bubble, and they spent $250 million in Disney. NHL, they took it to Canada, and they took 2 places in Edmonton and Toronto, and it's worked flawlessly so far. So baseball was the one that decided not to do in a bubble, but they also have protocols where it's a lot easier to spread out. I mean, you can put people in the stands if you have to with the players and spread people out all over baseball. Baseball's already social distance on the field around the diamond. Football, like you said, right in the faces, breathing the air, doing that. And if one person gets it, then all of a sudden it's going to spread like wildfire. You're a respected lawyer in town and know a lot about liability. How much do you think, though, Terrence, played into the fact that a lot of these leagues, they were just not willing financially to have one of those big liability lawsuits coming their way? And frankly, the SEC, ACC, and Big 12 are still dealing with that. What can you see for a way? Because this has been one that obviously money speaks, and a lot of these leagues don't want to take a hit where if a kid gets it or somebody, God forbid, dies on the field, it could be something that sets them back for life.
Well, but playing devil's advocate, I read that the budget for 2019 for FSU was $153 million, or what we earned, grossed, and we weren't top 10. So I think the Gators were at the bottom of top 10 at 157 maybe. Alabama was over 200. Texas, of course, was over 200. Michigan's up there. So big. They're big corporations, and as you know, football pays for all the other sports. Women's soccer, women's softball, even baseball. It's not expensive to play baseball, but that can't be a for-profit sport. Basketball, I don't really know, but football's where it funds all these things with school. It's a big business. The boosters is a big thing. FSU Boosters has laid off 25 permanent employees already, and that's with the supposition that we're going to have a season. If we don't have a season, how many people get laid off? So there's that economic impact. Now, the liability, I think it's going to be a little difficult because if some kid gets positive, where'd it come from? We don't know. I don't know if they can do a DNA or not. So I think, I don't know, but there's just so much uncertainty. So, yeah, if we start off, are we going to have a season September 12th with Georgia Tech? Looks like I'd say yes right now because we're that close. Are we going to make it through the whole season? I don't know.
It's going to be up to every team. The one good, now taking the positives for football. Football also, in college, you have large rosters where if one or two guys do get it, and let's say it was a rogue situation where they went to a nightclub or they went out when they weren't supposed to, they can go ahead and get to them, and if they start testing the other players and they end up coming back negative, then you'll have enough people to sustain a roster. Where in basketball, if half your team gets it, you can't have a team. That's one of the things about football that is a positive, but it's also a negative at the same time because you're around so many different people that thing can spread quickly, and you're so close and contained. I think, with North Carolina, their kids won't be on campus. That will help a team like that. Knowing that they're not going to be involved leaving practice and going and hanging out at other people's dorms room. We have to start thinking like college kids do. I see so many of these professors get out there in a bow tie and they get on TV and they tell them, well, they need to do this, and you got to be like, come on. They're college kids. There's going to be those moments. But I think they learned early. This is my opinion. I think that a lot of these teams learned back in July, back when, like, you saw the reports with Clemson with 30 test positive, LSU at that one location where they had 25, that Ed Ogeron and those guys said, you want to play football or not? Because if you continue down this path, we have zero chance, and you might end up really hurting somebody by this thing spreading. A lot since then, there has been numbers that showed tests went from 25 the next week to 3, the next week 0, and a trend for about 6 weeks at 0. That, to me, just like anything, is showing the signs that somebody's getting better. And I think it's ultimately not up to me and you to decide. It's going to be up to the kids not to go out partying, go to those places like the library at night. But It's going to be, Terrence, I think that they can do this because there's a lot at stake, and there's now a lot of pressure knowing that 2 of the major Power 5 conferences decided not to play. So there's even more eyes, and there's people rooting against them that are saying, okay, I would love to see how you pull this off. So there's even more accountability at stake now for the 3 leagues.
It's just so crazy. And then I saw Justin Fields has got a petition going now for the Big Ten. So, I'm sure he's disappointed. He has a chance to win the Heisman and all that, and I'm sure it's real disappointed for him. I get that. But FSU, I hope we play. I think of the schools out there, we're at a big disadvantage just because of the transition. It hit us at a really bad time. So with Saban, he knows his players. He's got his system. Even Mullins has been at Florida long enough to have a system. Our coaches don't even know the players, and I say Blackman is a starter, which I think he will. It's going to be his 3rd head coach and his 5th offensive coordinator in a college career. Who could ever say that? It's crazy.
That is crazy, yeah.
And there he is. And so it's just a lot to know, and everybody does things differently, and just meshing and all that. Georgia Tech probably shouldn't be that good, I don't think, this year. They always have athletes, but they're trying to change their offensive system. So it's not a bad first game.
Yeah, and we know at this point that the schedule in place. I want to look at the numbers here with the teams. Right now there's 10 games on schedule based on that Samford dropped out of the September 19th game. Now, I know USF is sort of calling down the road saying, hey, we have an open date too. This would make sense. So hopefully that gets done, even though there's some bad feelings since they felt like they were the big dog, came in and won one time when Florida State was on a down road. Florida State's still a better team right now than USF. Looking at their schedule, though, I might be the optimistic side here because I do believe in Norvell. I know a lot about this coach from seeing him with UCF because Memphis was sort of our adversary when everybody else in the country didn't care because we were not playing in Power 5, just winning fake national titles and parades. But, Terrence, in this case here, I see a 7-3 with the schedule in place right now without Samford. I see 7-3, 6-4 being realistic, knowing that you've got some of those games you get. I see at Miami, at Notre Dame, Clemson, and the possibility of at Louisville as the 4 losses. Those are the ones.
See, don't miss North Carolina because that kid that was the FSU commit.
Sam Howell?
Yeah,
he's a good quarterback.
He had a great freshman year.
And Mac Brown's a good coach. He's going to have them, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't look past North Carolina. I think we have a much better chance of beating Louisville than North Carolina. I don't know much about Louisville, but they just haven't been too relevant in a while.
I think the ACC, what the ACC is across the board, and we were honest about it last year on the show too, and I don't think it's changed. You have Clemson, and then you have probably 11 other teams that can beat anybody any given week. There's always the outliers, but even those games against Wake Forest and Duke that they used to just pencil in as minus 25 spreads, minus 28, those aren't givens anymore. We saw what happened last year at Wake.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That's going to be the case. Let's talk a little bit about James Blackman. What have you seen? Because there has been growth. Literally, he looks bigger. He had to gain some weight when he was only 175 pounds when he first showed up. But he's a redshirt junior. We know he has a skill set, and we talked about it last season as well. I don't think that Willie Taggart worked with him the best way for the style that he was. He was also felt like he was fearful every day, knowing that offensive line, if he got hit, he could break into half, get hit by a 325-pound defensive tackle coming at you. The offensive line seems like it's making improvements. Today in practice, I was watching the video earlier that they're working with offensive line and special teams, 2 true freshmen competing for that starting job. But a lot of these guys, like Baselli and the guys coming back, they feel that it's going to be a better team. And Mike Norvell does know offense. It can only really go up from here. I think James Blackman playing with an experienced coach like Norvell on the offensive side of the ball is a good thing.
Oh yeah, no doubt. And I'm not one of these Blackman haters. A lot of people are. You see him on Facebook all the time. He's kind of all over the place, but he's certainly, his bowl game was horrible against Arizona State with 4 turnovers wherever he had. But I think decision making, so you can cure decision making. I think early on he just didn't throw the ball away. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't. And those are simple things to cure and not take that 20-yard sack or not throw that big interception. So maybe trying too hard, but he's got an NFL arm. The kid's got a cannon. He needs to improve. His footwork was so-so. He's not a dual-threat quarterback by any stretch of the imagination. But we'll see. He's got tons of experience. He's probably one of the most experienced quarterbacks in the nation now because he's had a lot of games under his belt. So we'll see. You heard about Purdy, right?
Yes.
Okay, so he broke his collarbone.
I did see that.
So he's out at least half the season. And the other fella, I mean, he's a true freshman. We need to keep him sharp, and you can't expect him to be the starter. So it's going to be Blackman. There's no secret there.
Looking right now at what we've seen recently, and Warren Thompson, the comments just – they came at a time right now where – as a lawyer, things that people say verbally, you can get sued, be held liable for many things that people do. A lot of times athletes feel like, they get emotional. And during the times right now, I was listening to national radio and all over the country. I don't know what's happening down in Tallahassee, but Norvell's taken over and the way he's running his program, and they're going to the Marvin Wilson comments. They're going to the comments of Warren Thompson. And frankly, it turned out to be a lie for Warren Thompson. He came back out and apologized, saying, hey, sorry, I shouldn't have gone that far, saying that they're hiding COVID testing or they're not treating us properly. Because usually the kids on your team would have your back. Now, a couple of the guys like Tamarian Terry came out and retweeted it. They didn't help the cause. But most of the athletes came to the aid of Mike Norvell, their new coach, which, remember, when you're not the guy that walked into those homes, talked to mom and dad, and recruited them, a lot of times they're not as loyal. And those guys, none of them on that team really that are going to be starting this year were Mike Norvell guys.
No.
So for them to have his back and be like, no, man, this isn't right. We're doing whatever we can. And Mike Norvell addressed it. I thought that was wrong. Do you see Warren Thompson being back and making an impact? Do you see this coming to a sort of a stop, hey, let's play football and move on from this?
Oh, yeah. And the other problem is social media. It's so easy to be in your dormitory and tweet. And even now, I got to be careful. I get mad at another lawyer, and I'll do some email, and I always say, I'm going to send that tomorrow. And by the time I see it the next day, I delete. So the emotion of it. So whatever happened. But also Warren Thompson came in with a lot of accolades and has had trouble starting. We're very deep at receivers. You mentioned Terry. You've got Matthews. There's others. So there may be a little frustration too, and who knows what's said about what team you're practicing with. We don't know all the dynamics there or what took place. And I don't know what instigated, but he did retract. You're right. So I don't know about all this stuff. And he's everybody's in a fishbowl. The coach is in a fishbowl. The players in a fishbowl. I guess they don't realize when they're tweeting in the room that it's national news. It's on ESPN. Mm-hmm. You're quoting it. I'm quoting it. And I think a 19-year-old kid maybe hadn't thought that out that well.
Think about Drew Brees. I mean, one of the nicest human beings in the world.
Right.
And he says something that 4 years ago, the majority of people out there would have agreed 100% with him. And now, just because he didn't add the ... I understand why they're kneeling, but I don't believe – it's okay. I mean, I think you agree with me that – I mean, we've talked about this before, but I still believe – I grew up in a military family, put my hand on my heart and stand and say – but I also understand, you know what, I'm going to respect people. Even if I disagree, I think that's what makes this country great is you can disagree but respect at least the people to do it. If he would have said that, that's all he wanted to add, but by just saying, I think it's disrespectful, people immediately judged him. And really what I said and what he said is the same thing. He's just adding he didn't add that extra part to say, I'm not going to attack you for it. I'm just saying this is how
he had to do the crab walk.
He did, and he's such a good person, one of the best individuals. But that's a whole nother story.
Sure.
When we come back, I want to talk a little more right now about not playing Florida this year, and really something that was a staple of rivalry week for so long. Even the government stepped in at one point to keep the game going, to make sure it played. This year, a little different. But guess what? It's 2020. I think everything is different.
It's time for some straight talk. You know what covering your bases is in baseball, right? Making sure you have no holes in your defense. Well, that's the kind of coverage you get with Straight Talk Wireless. And you'll pay up to 50% less than big carriers and still use their same networks. Just $45 a month gets you the unlimited plan with 25 gigs of high-speed data and 2G. No contract, no mystery fees. Fully covering your bases for 50% less. Straight Talk Wireless, only at Walmart. Savings may vary. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com.
Progressive presents The Sounds of the Old World. The year is 2019, and someone is waiting for the previews to start in a movie theater.
Hey, you want anything? Popcorn? Soda? No, nothing?
This has been The Sounds of the Old World. Brought to you by Progressive, where drivers can still switch and save like it's 2019.
Quote today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Hey, what's up? Chad here from the Sports Drive. Well, we're into August, that first time that we start to feel the flow for football season.
Foosball.
Like getting ready to run out of the tunnel to a song like Enter Sandman. Might be a little different this year. Probably no smoke, social distance away from the people, as you might get cheered on by virtual fans.
You can do it!
But overall, we're excited, and we'll keep you posted with the latest updates from high school, college, and the NFL. Join myself, Chad Brillante, and JP right here on the Sports Drive, 5 to 7 on ESPN Pensacola.
The teams, the games, the fans, the local talk. This is ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Welcome back to Tomahawk Talk, right here on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. Our college show's coming back, and it's good because we're talking football. Feeling, coming out of the tunnel, getting ready for a football game. I mean, the passion of college football, the tailgating, the build-up, the rivalry talk, the water cooler talk around the office the week before. So much of that goes into it. A lot of that might not be able to happen this year, but just getting to hear the music and get ready for football is something that I think people are getting a little more excited about. And if you're looking for an event to do coming up this week on August 27th, Thursday night will be the Greater Pensacola Seminole Club kickoff party. James Coleman, Lonnie Pryor. I just got the word from David Forte today on that couple former FSU players will be there. Last year I know Irish Affel talked, and I introduced them for the event. But it's good to see Florida State people. I know Terrence being Golden Chief and being around Florida State, a lot of good alumni in this town.
Yeah, and speaking of being a Golden Chief, I got a call a couple months ago, and I couldn't figure out what the call was going. They were fishing, but they were just making sure
They're doubling the dues after the times? Is
they
were
just making sure I was renewing.
Okay.
So I think a lot of people have actually canceled.
Yeah.
And so, yes, I'm renewing, and I got my seats, and we have three of us have 12 seats now on the 40-yard line on the alumni side. And I was asking him, I said, okay, so let's say we have the season. You can't go full capacity. Not that, I mean, Clemson, we could sell out that 83,000 fans. They're not going to have 83,000 fans for Clemson. So who are the winners? Who are the losers? So you could say, well, we got to take care of the big boosters. Okay, that sounds okay. But what about the little booster that's been paying something and he gets mad and he's never a booster again? And do we not have the students? I mean, the whole thing is the students, it's their school, and they're your future boosters, and if you slap them on the hand, so I don't know how you magically picked if it's going to be limited to, say, 25,000, essentially, 1/3 or 25% capacity. Who are the winners? Who are the losers? And he just said, don't worry, you're in. Well, I mean, so it just, you just wonder, I mean, how that's going to work out. So I don't know how even Alabama, I mean, they're used to having so many people attend. If they say only 25% capacity, who is it?
And have they made any because Florida State, one of the cool parts about going to Doak is being an on-campus stadium is people are all spread out all over, parking at the church across the street or walking over, but everybody stays around campus. A lot of people that maybe are out-of-towners that never have seen the actual campus because there's not too much going on school-wise at that point can walk around, see the buildings. Have they said anything about what they're going to do, or at this point just going full throttle?
Or tailgating?
Yeah.
No mention. And so I don't know. And I do know that historically, there actually have been people that would drive to Tallahassee, tailgate, and stay outside the stadium the whole game. Why'd you come here? They just want the whole vibe.
Yeah.
And they got their big TV, so they got their big screen TV in the parking lot, and they got to tailgate, and they're just as happy staying there, all the replays and whatever. So I don't know. I mean, different strokes for different folks, but that's going to be another problem too. And somebody's already asked me, they say, okay, make it 25,000. Are you going? So if it's Georgia Tech, 25,000, I got my tickets, am I going? I don't know if I want to sit with 25,000. If I'm nervous about going into a restaurant with 60 people, I mean, would you feel good about 25,000 people?
I would personally. I mean, from an age standpoint, I being 35, I feel a little comfortable. But we've talked online, and I know share pictures of cool fish stories and stuff, but I went through some tough times. I had myocarditis, which they're talking about, and went to the hospital and has been seeing a cardiologist where I have an inflamed heart, and there's days if I have too much coffee, there's days that I don't want to get up. I mean, so I understand. I got hit by the full throttle of what is going on out there, and it sucks, even at my age. The doctor pretty much said if you stay on the path, you don't sleep, you continue to drink energy drinks, you're not keeping your diet, you're stressed out, you might not make it. So I had to change a lot of those habits, a couple of them. But when it comes down to these athletes, I get it because I'm in that group that a lot of people out there, there's a difference between knowing and accepting that I do believe we can play football. I believe we can get our economy. We have to get our economy back. You were talking as a lawyer, there's no cases at all. You guys are trying to figure it out in the court system. Those are things that other people don't think about on a daily basis. But we do have to start reopening things, also be safe. It's okay to say, I want football, but it's okay also to say, we can't go more than 20% capacity. I think people are saying, get everybody back in the stands and tailgate and act like this isn't happening. That's not a good thing either. So, I mean, that's the thing. When we're in here, we wear a mask. We got plexiglass in between us. We only are allowed 2 people in studio. If John came or someone like that, we'd have to keep one person outside the studio. We're taking the precautionary measures. It's just going to be tough right now because nobody agrees on this. And I hope most people agree on one thing. You want to respect people enough to care about humanity first. This isn't political. We want to make sure if somebody's sick or not feeling good, you need to be careful around them, and you also need to respect their boundaries, or if they're at an age where you probably should not be going. Not you, but there are some people in their late 70s to 80s that are probably a Bobby Bowden shouldn't be showing up there to the stadium to wave out for the first game or anything like that. That just shouldn't be happening unless it's very safe.
I don't think he'll do that.
I don't either.
Why don't we go to the schedule and just talk about each game real quick?
Yeah, let's go over Georgia Tech week 1. It's a game where I think they should win. Georgia Tech, Jeff Collins, it's crazy not to see them run a triple option attack. That every time I watch them, I'm still confused watching. They're a better team than Georgia Tech right now.
Yeah, we should win that. Sanford is off. Whether they fill that in, I don't know, so we can't talk about it. But if they don't, then that gives us 2 weeks off before Miami, which gives us time to prepare for Miami. It's at Miami. I think I would normally say that we'd have a good chance, but now that King is going to be the starting quarterback, that kid's the real deal. And that's a game changer probably.
But is their offense the real deal? I feel like they've had more talent. Last year, Dan Enos did a terrible job as the coordinator, and remember, Manny Diaz is a defensive-minded guy.
Correct.
Their offense, think about the last time Miami's had a decent or consistent quarterback, because even last year with Perry and some of the other guys, they were expecting a lot more.
They couldn't find a quarterback last
year.
The
development of a quarterback, is so big in college. Right. You're right. Derek King has all the intangible tools, but Miami, I'm not going to believe into Miami being a top 15, top 20 team as they're expecting them until I see it. Their last game, Darren's 14-0 loss to Louisiana Tech in the Independence Bowl. You can't be doing that. I mean, so You're right, though. I think he's better, but I'm not believing Miami's this juggernaut. But they have the win right now on Florida State.
And then Notre Dame, they got it going on there, and it's at Notre Dame.
Jeff just walked by. Don't say
That's
it too
okay.
loud.
They're at Notre Dame, so we can't. It'd be nice. I think the North Carolina game, and it's at FSU, but again, I don't even know how much home field advantage means, especially if you're limited on fans. But I think North Carolina is going to be really good, and I think they're recruiting very well. Mac Brown's a magnet, and Louisville, unless you know something about Louisville, I don't know. After losing Lamar and stuff, they were good. They were relevant for a couple years in a row. I think they had Bridgewater and then Lamar Jackson, and they really haven't been that relevant. So I would hope that we wouldn't have trouble there. Pitt, they're improving, but they're not recruiting the same caliber athlete. We should do that. Now, NC State, it doesn't matter who it is. For some reason, there's always a school that sort of has your number. And if you look at the past 10 or 12 years, we have struggled with NC State. I was there with Jimbo Fisher. We're up 16-0 halftime, and we lose 17-16. It was like we came out of the halftime and never showed up. And I was there, and it was ugly. So there's that rivalry. For some reason, they don't like us much either. So I would never just pencil that in as a win. Clemson, we have a 1% chance of beating Clemson. They got all the gears running, and presuming Lawrence is healthy and whatever, we don't stand a prayer. I'm going to root for FSU. Don't get me wrong. Virginia, I don't know much about them. They have a relatively new coach, don't they?
Bronco Mendenhall, he's done a good job. Remember, they made a New Year's Eve 6 game last year and were competitive against Florida. They lost their starting quarterback to the NFL, so they're revamping their offense. But they're a physical team. Bronco Mendenhall came over from BYU, and he was a real physical-minded coach. So they're going to hit you hard. Now, that game last year, remember, it came down to the final play. Blackman was driving, and Virginia is the team that beat Florida State. I know a lot will change this year, but they're still a solid team. They're one of those teams we talked about that you used to pencil in as a W. You can't do that anymore.
No, and then hopefully Duke shouldn't be tough. But you mentioned the Florida game. I got mixed emotions about that because we've always had it, the rivalry. My wife's a Gator. I got 2 kids went to Florida, 2 kids went to FSU, but really Florida's better than us this year, folks. I hate to tell you. Mullins has been there. They've been, they got a quarterback, that Trask, that's had experience. So they would be heavily favored right now. I'm not grieving that we're not playing them this year. But, of course, then again, with all this shuffle, we picked up Notre Dame. So we didn't really help ourselves that much because and I miss playing Boston College, by the way. I love playing Boston College.
Yeah.
And they trounced us a couple years ago. I was up there, but I just like them. I like their fans. I love traveling to Boston for those games.
It's a lot of fun to go to that game. Chestnut Hill's a beautiful area up there, but that is one of the teams that they usually beat, but they don't have to play them this year. And looking at that overall, the Florida situation, it's one that if out of the blue they decided to do this, it would, I think, upset a lot more people. But it was out of their control. When it was the SEC made the announcement that they're not playing any conference outside of conference, and ACC's playing that one game, it was at that point they knew that it just wasn't going to do it. And it's not just for them. Think about it. Louisville and Kentucky won't happen. Clemson and South Carolina won't happen. And Georgia and Georgia Tech won't happen. So you have 4 rivalries that you get right around that time during Thanksgiving that none of those rivalries are going to happen this year. So it's Florida's and Florida State are not the only 2 teams dealing with this. And it's the big one, though. It's the one we talk about over, Ohio State and Michigan won't happen either, but that's for a different reason, I guess.
And I think it's too late to pencil in somebody. I don't know how you pencil somebody in with a month to go. You mentioned South Florida. I don't know their schedule and if they're open. And would they really want that?
They do have it. I think they wouldn't mind it because they're not good enough right now that they're going to win the American, and it would be good for them financially to take on a team like that. Everybody's looking for a good TV game. And that would be better than Samford. I think that logistically it makes sense. It's that trip down 75. You can make it happen. It's short timing, you're right, but they do have an open date. So to me, that would be one that makes sense on both sides that they can play. I don't know if they're going to go down that path. Who knows? I think there's going to be some teams, just like we see in baseball right now, where teams are having to play a whole entire week of doubleheaders, like the St. Louis Cardinals, because they missed some time with COVID. So there are going to be some teams that might finish the season 5-3. And other teams that finish 9-2 because they have a full season. So we just got to accept it's not going to be that perfect, clear-cut you're used to seeing. Heck, they're putting in the top 25 this year, Terry. They're putting Pac-12 and Big Ten teams in for the first preseason poll, and then they're taking them out after. But that's going to be confusing. You wake up in the morning, you're like, oh, good for you, Ohio State, you're one. Next week, you're not going to even exist. So it is what it is this year. But I'm just glad that it looks like they're on track to have a game, and a game they should win out of the gate against Georgia Tech. We'll talk some more Florida State football. We'll look into their roster this year, look at the players that have gone pro, and take a look as well at some of the guys that might step up, make the big plays this year. Some of those underdog, unsung stories from Florida State football. It's Tomahawk Talk, brought to you by the Gross & Schuster Law Firm with Terrence A. Gross each and every week, right here on Pensacola Sports Leader, ESPN Pensacola.
That's what protecting your car could sound like with 303 Touchless Sealant. Just spray on a wet surface, rinse off, and dry. It's the sound of twice the protection as traditional waxes and insane water beating you have to see to believe.
Wait, this is radio, right?
Okay, moving on. 303 Touchless Sealant. Visit 303radio.com for more information.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Oil change coming up? We can help you out. Right now, you can get 5 quarts of Pennzoil High Mileage Motor Oil and an STP oil filter for just $27.99. And if you need it fast, we can help you get it fast. Whether it's at home with our next day delivery or in-store and curbside with our free same-day pickup. The choice is yours. Getting the job done just got easier. Restrictions and details at AutoZone.com.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Foot odor throwing you off your game? Stick to a winning game plan with Odor Eaters, featuring 3 advanced odor and wetness fighters. The lineup provides long-lasting odor control plus more to keep your feet on their game.
Odor Eaters powder provides outstanding moisture control. Clear drying spray is the MVP in preventing athlete's foot, while insoles work continuously to manage wetness while adding a layer of comfort. Pick up today at Walmart, Target, CVS, Dollar General, or other fine retailers.
Odor Eaters. Destroy foot odor with the best in odor defense.
The teams, the games, the fans, the local talk. This is ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Welcome back to Tomahawk Talk right here on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM, every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Seminole fans, if you want to tune in for the latest on what's happening with Florida State throughout the season, tune in right here every single Wednesday. Terrence A. Gross of the Gross & Schuster Law Firm, kind enough to be part of it each and every week with us as a Golden Chief and somebody that is excited for football as well. We'll see how far it goes, but excited to see it. By the way, we appreciate you guys being the sponsor here for Gross & Schuster Law Firm, but how's life been in law outside of that, you can't show up to court and do those things as much, but has life been okay over the last 4 months?
Yeah, it's been more laid back. Again, they wiped out all jury trials, so no jury trials till January 1, and then we don't even know thereafter. And I've only had one hearing so far with a judge by Zoom. Mm-hmm. A little bit of mediation, a little bit of depositions, but I'm doing something. I'm going back to the old days where I'm just pick up the phone and calling clients. I have 100 clients. I'll just call them up, and they're surprised to hear from me. And I never used to have that kind of time. Now I'll just sort of call up a client and hobnob with them for 30 minutes, and it's been productive that way. But Anyway, getting back to this FSU thing, I wount my discussion a little bit of positions with you.
Absolutely.
I haven't really studied it, but I kind of got a sense. So we've already talked about the quarterback position. Blackman's going to start. Purdy looks like he may have broken a collarbone. And we have the other young, tall kid from Georgia, true freshman, coming in, so he's not ready. So we're a little thin at quarterback, but I like Blackman, so I'm happy they're on the running backs. It's been like musical chairs. This is crazy. I've never seen anything like it because we lost our two. Grant was supposed to get some time, and Laybourne, they're gone.
Yeah.
But yet we got the kid from Texas A&M. You may know his
Corbin,
name.
Rashawn Corbin, yeah.
And I've heard good things about him, and he had a bad injury at Texas A&M and sat out, and hopefully he's recovered. So, and there's other players. I'm not really sure we are, but it's with the portal going on. It is so confusing to someone like me because it used to be you get to a school and you stay. I read today's newspaper. We have one tight end, and he's got very little experience. So I'm hoping that works out. But we lost some to the portal and injuries. One guy got injured, so we're real thin at tight end. D-line, I think we're good. If we stay healthy, I think our D-line could be our strength. You mentioned Marvin Lewis and Kando's there, and I think we're great at cornerbacks. We're deep at cornerbacks. We've recruited well for whatever reasons, just through the Willie Taggart recruiting. That was his best position he recruited for. So I think we're very deep. We may be young. Receivers, we got plenty. And I think Warren Thompson should do well for us. And
yeah, and I think too, Terrence, what you're saying with and Jashawn Corbin, by the way, I think I said Rashawn, I don't know why, but you talked about Big Marv up front, and that surprised a lot of people that he was coming back and didn't go pro because he could have been a first round, second rounder with his size and speed. But you look right now at the guys that are coming back; these guys have the type of talent where, with the right training, with the right chemistry and philosophy, and believing. Because they didn't believe in Willie Taggart. It was like going through the motions. That's the one thing in football. We've seen it at so many levels. The NFL, if you've got a decent quarterback, and, take, for instance, a guy like Patrick Mahomes. Kansas City was a middle-of-the-pack defense. Steve Spagnuolo had won before, but they weren't that great at defense. You got a quarterback that was bailing them out of games when they would trail 24-0 against Houston. He'd come back and score 28 straight. They started to believe, and they had his back in the second half. Last year, there were so many quick 3-and-outs that the defense that was exhausted from a long drive had to run right back out in the field. And you could see a lot of times the hits, and we talked about those extra excessive penalties, and just everything about the culture at Florida State wasn't right. The talent level, here's a fascinating stat. 7 teams they've lost to over the last 2 years, all 7 of those teams combined, not including Clemson and some of the big ones, but there's 7 teams they lost to that have less 4- and 5-star recruits than Florida State combined on all 7 of those rosters.
I believe that.
So that's when you're a 4-star or a 2-star, because I know at UCF we got a lot out of 2 and 3 stars and won a fake national title, but when it came down to Florida State, the athletes that went to Florida State were still the big guys. Even a guy like Laborn, who just ended up being dismissed from the team, but he was a guy that was a 5-star coming out, a 5-star. So when we're saying for the first time after going through Cam Akers, Dalvin Cook, legendary running backs at Florida State, you would think that Laborn would be right in that mix if he would have got trained. And obviously talent-wise, you don't become a 5-star unless you have that elite talent. So I think there's a lot of guys on this roster, Asante Samuel Jr., guys like even Amari Gaynor, or you look up and down that roster about, you talked about Kendo and guys that are really good. Even a guy like Keyshawn, who's from here, Keyshawn Helton, a huge help last year. He came really as a guy that stepped up when they needed, because he's not the biggest. He doesn't run a 4.2. He's 5'9", but he was consistent for him, and I think that because of that, he's going to be in that Z slot and be the starter this year, and I think he can make an immediate impact.
I'm hoping his injury. I've noticed in practice he's still wearing a knee brace, and that could be just for a precaution.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm hoping, because he was a gamer, and he was a kid that he may not even been a 3-star. He could have been a 2-star for all I know. He was just an afterthought, and we picked him up, and he's just a gamer. He's just one of those guys that just he plays a big heart, 100%, and that's what you want. So I'm glad he's on the team, and I think Terry is another person like Lewis that would have been probably a first rounder and came back. I was in shock that they did. I'm very proud of them. I always will love them for that. DJ Matthews, I think he probably will be doing punt returns. We'll see. I suspect that, but a very good receiver. So we got a lot of talent, and we just got to put it all together. And the key, I still think, is going to go back to our offensive line. That was the problem, I think, with everything. You just hit the nail on the head. So I think Blackman didn't have enough time, and bad things happened. And then the defense had to play, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. They were just worn out by the fourth quarter. So I think if we get a good offensive line, good things will happen.
Yeah, and a guy from West Florida, that Darius Washington, a big left tackle, a guy that is expected to, as a redshirt freshman, to have an opportunity. So they've got some guys right there. You got Darius Washington, also another local kid with an opportunity, Keyshawn Helton, and then you look up and down that offensive line. These are guys that they know it. And Andrew Baselli, I thought that was a pretty solid comment. It was his dad almost passed, Tony Baselli, who a legend, Jacksonville Jag, an all-pro left tackle, and he watched it, and he also got COVID, and he went through it, and he knew it was rough, but he said after all that, let's still play. We want to play because they understand the protocol. If players are getting sick and things like that, they'll respect, and they know they have to isolate. But other kids are going to be able to go through. And as an attorney and everything, you look at percentages on a daily basis. You look at numbers. You look at things. And in this case right here, the numbers will say that kids 20 to 24 years old are going to be, for the majority, okay. There will be underlying situations with a few. And when they do, they need to take the precautionary measures. But for the most part, I'm more worried about coaches that are like Nick Saban, even though Nick's got he's got the Just for Men going, but he's in his upper 60s. There's guys up there that need to understand that if they're around the game all the time in enclosed environments with other coaches breathing, they got to be careful about that. That's where I'm more worried about that. But I think that there's a way to manage this and get it done because we're seeing 4 or 5 other sports played right now all throughout the day that are figuring out how to do it, and they're older and more really receptive to what's going on.
Well, playing devil's advocate, because you mentioned the Clemson situation with 30 COVID players, and that's kind of old news. So the question begs the question, if you got 90 kids in your squad, wherever it is, and 30 have already had COVID, that's kind of good.
It's really good.
If they have that immunities, they've already got the antibodies there, so they're probably not going to get COVID. So I'll never forget this because you said you had young kids, but when my kids were real young, one of them got chicken pox, and the first thing my wife did was put them all in the room together. so they all get it and get it over with.
They did that at Alabama too with the COVID party. Remember that?
I think as students, I don't think Saban did that.
I don't think that was, and that was not logic. Getting chicken pox and getting a bunch of people around COVID, a little bit different right now. Right. But I'm. When I say this, my opinion, when we come up here, we do the research on sports. I always feel confident that whether it's myself or JP, when we're hosting the show, people can call in and we can weigh in and give them a pretty good answer on what's happening around the world of football or sports in general. But I'm not an expert on this, and I'm following, I'm listening, I'm researching. But by now we're sitting here in August 19th. We all should know, for the most part, what is around us with COVID-19. And we should also know that each area is different. If me and you were to go lake fishing out in Idaho, it's going to be a lot different than what's happening if we go to South Florida. So it's going to be one also that takes into account with the ACC is that there's going to be some areas that are in the clear and other areas like the Miami Hurricanes that they got to be real careful with what they're doing.
Well, I kind of thought about that. So if Florida is now one of the hotbeds for it, the state of Florida, does Notre Dame really want to host Florida State University if we're ever still hot around October? I mean, if it's still going on and the levels are up and you're Notre Dame's small, sleepy town in Indiana, do you want to bring in a bunch of Florida State people? That's interesting. I just started thinking about all that. So, because at one time before they revamped the schedule, we were going to go to Syracuse. I think if the Syracuse team would want us up there, and so I don't know. I mean, it brings a lot of dynamics, and then we're used to the band traveling for big games. I don't think the band's traveling. I doubt that Clemson's band's coming down here.
No, I don't think so.
So that'll be a change it'll be really interesting. The fans. So I can't even tell you right now. You didn't ask me, but am I going to go to a game? I got all these season tickets. I paid for them.
Yeah.
Am I even going? The answer is I don't know. I may just wait to game day and figure it out, but I think it's going to depend on the number of people and whatever. But I got a feeling my wife may put her foot down and say you're not going, and then coming back to my house. So even if I wear a mask and have my sanitizer.
You okay with your virtual face on TV? Maybe sitting around there with that, waving in the background like they're doing in the NBA right there. That's borderline creepy. With Aaron Judge, the Yankees and Red Sox game, I joked he took the ball and he tossed it to him, and I'm like, you're just making some usher run all the way over there. There's nobody in the it's weird. That gets a little creepy in baseball when you see all those guys in the background doing fake waves, and that's when you know things are getting a little bit on that edge of Black Mirrors at that point. When we come back, let's get to more on breaking down Florida State, make some predictions for the season, and have some fun talking some Florida State football. It's Tomahawk Talk with Terrence A. Gross of the Gross & Schuster Law Firm each and every Wednesday here on ESPN Pensacola.
This is Tort Talk with personal injury lawyer Terrence A. Gross.
Hi, this is Terrence A. Gross. Lawyers like doctors specialize these days. You wouldn't go to a cardiologist for knee surgery or a gastro doctor for neck surgery. Therefore, if you are injured in a car accident, you should choose a law firm that specializes in personal injury law. At Gross & Schuster, all 4 lawyers have limited their practices to representing accident victims against insurance companies.
Visit grossandschuster.com.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Oil change coming up? We can help you out. Right now, you can get 5 quarts of Pennzoil high mileage motor oil and an STP oil filter for just $27.99. And if you need it fast, we can help you get it fast. Whether it's at home with our next day delivery or in store and curbside with our free same day pickup. The choice is yours. Getting the job done just got easier. Restrictions and details at AutoZone.com.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Today, pros have to do whatever it takes. The Home Depot is here to make that easier. We've got the products you know and trust on our app, delivery options to get what you need exactly where you need it, and a delivery tracker that keeps you up to date on the status of your order, so you can keep doing what you do best, whatever it takes to get the job done. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
Hey, Pensacola, it's Mike Greenberg here, host of Greenie. I'm back on ESPN Radio. It's good to be back in Pensacola, and it's good to be on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
11 till noon, weekdays on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. The latest sports news is at ESPNpensacola.com and on Facebook at ESPN Pensacola. Plus, watch Chad Brillante, Coach K, and Sports Call live on our exclusive YouTube channel, ESPN Pensacola, 1330. The teams, the games, the fans, the local talk. This is ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
And welcome back, Tomahawk Talk, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM, brought to you by the Gross & Schuster Law Firm. Terrence A. Gross, Chad Brillante with you here. Terrence, you look at the schedule ahead now. So right now they have 10 games currently with that open date, though, on September 19th. That was going to be Sanford, which, hey, look, Duck Hodges a couple years ago. Wasn't that simple? Looking at the matchups up here, I look at it, and I think this is fair to say 7-3. I saw a report yesterday that they're going to be borderline top 25 to start the season. I mean, that's nobody wants to really hear that after what they've seen lately, but it's
seeing's believing. And again, Norvell, I think he is the real deal. I'm glad we got him, but he had no spring game. He missed out on that, and a lot of the practices that we'd normally have, and trying to get it done quickly. As we've seen, there is some dissension. You've already mentioned that he didn't recruit a lot of these players, so there's a disconnect there. They could have kids that are still loyal to Willie Taggart or mad that he was let go. We don't know all the dynamics. Every kid wants to start, and if he's not starting, is he going to tweet something? Of course, you got the injuries. Like everybody has the injuries. But, again, the COVID things, there's so many things out there just spinning. It's just, it's a lot to put on a coach, a first-year coach. I don't care who they are. And so we'll just get through it. One thing I do like about Blackman that I've heard, he's a tape guy. He watches the tape, so he has this strong desire. He actually came into school at 169. Was where he weighed in.
He's 6'5", too.
Yeah, and the last time I heard he was 194. So he's put on 25 pounds. I also heard a great statistic. I don't know if you saw this. Since March 1. The Seminoles have put on 700 pounds. Did you hear that?
I did not. 700
pounds. And I'm hoping that's weight room and not the dining room.
I was going to say, I know I put on 20, but that has nothing to do with football right now. I could see that. It's going to be be intriguing. The fall camp, I've been following their practices. Mike Norvell seems, he's not in there to make friends. He's in there to get them motivated, and they needed that. Bob Stoops is a guy that I know the name was thrown out there, but Bob's been around it, and he's been there, done that. Norvell is trying to take – this is his first head coaching job in a Power 5 league. He's been a good coordinator at Arizona State. He was a good coach at Memphis. But this is his first chance to prove to the world, hey, I deserve this type of money, and I'm going to be that guy. And he's not – it doesn't seem like he's playing games. I think he's handled what have been some very tough situations and things that he also acknowledged that he could have been more clear with a guy like Marvin Wilson. He's handled those kind of things. He's been under a lot of fire in the public tweeting eye, and he has handled these very appropriately.
Yeah, I think it's a real deal. And part of these guys, you have to be a general. You have to be a manager. You got all these emotions, all these young people. You got fans, you got ADs, you got boosters to deal with, and he seems to have that. I think that's one of the strongest points. You look at Saban, he's just able to manage all the distraction, all the white noise, and he can funnel in.
Well, Terrence enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to talking more about the games, the X's and O's throughout the year.
Great.
Thank you again. Terrence A. Gross, Gross & Schuster Law Firm, proud sponsors of Tomahawk Talk right here on ESPN Pensacola. We'll be back for more coming up. Paul Feinbaum Show. Then I'll be back with the Sports Drive with JP.
This is ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. Pensacola's home for hometown sports. Your home to talk football with Coach K. Sports Drive with Chad Brillante and Sports Call with Davis Allen. If you'd like to partner with ESPN Pensacola or become a sponsor, just give us a call at 262-6000.
You're listening to ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. All sports, all the time. WEVY, Milton, Pensacola.
The dogs are counting down, about to put the anchor down. Hotty toddy, who's it gonna be? Cowbells and swamp, the Aggies romp. There's nothing like the SEC. The weekend's full of surprise. Get him with the flex. From Williams Bikes to Death Valley. On the Feinbaum Show, Paul's on the roll. If he don't get the best of me, call Paul. He'll make sense of it all. What's going on, Feinbaum? Kneeling's up on Rocky Top. The Razorbacks are hard to stop. War Eagles soaring in the wind. Let me talk, Tammy. Okay, go. Tigers rocking in Missoula. Wildcats are grinning too. Talk about the tide that's rolling in. The weekend's full of surprises. From big upsets to rivalries. On the Feinbaum Show, heads are gonna roll. If they don't get the best of me, we'll call Paul. Yeah.
I could give you my address and phone number if you're ever in this neck of the woods.
This is the Paul Feinbaum Show. It's not Jerry Springer, right?
And we welcome you to the middle of the week, and what a week it has already been. Thanks so much for being a part of the program, and there is a lot of news. It's all pretty good now that the schedules are set and ADs are starting to announce when the games are and how many people can show up. And that's the story from Knoxville, Tennessee today, where Philip Fulmer, the athletic director, announced that fans are welcome, but not as many as I think